Hello and welcome, to my YouTube channel. My name is Emily and I am currently writing a personality test that I wanted to talk about on YouTube, specifically the process that I'm going through to write the personality test and anything that comes out of that process. So my YouTube channel will mostly be about philosophical topics. That's what I'm going to cover. I want to keep it simple and just a quick overview. So philosophical topics like personality, gender, game theory, and metaphysical energy. Those are 4 topics that I am very interested in on a daily basis. The name of my YouTube channel is Phantom X Garden. I chose this not because I have an affinity for ghostly plants, but because I am a fan of the word phantom and ghost and anything that conjures images of specters. Ooh, specter is a good word too. But I went with phantom because a lot of my art kind of deals with phantomly, is that a word? Ghostly aliens and specter type characters. I don't know, I'm starting to go around in circles. I really like the ghostly vibe. So I'm thinking that I want my channel to have a ghostly vibe, but I also didn't know how to make it more unique and something that just represents me. So I added the garden part because I am a fan of digital gardens. Digital, not physical. I really like the idea of of tending to a garden online. My mom is the same way. It's super weird. We both have this strange affinity for plants that are not real. I don't know what to make of it, but I have a username now, so that is fine. Oh, and I haven't designed a logo yet. That's what I'm working on at the moment. I need to design a logo and a banner image that really convey Phantom X Garden. I can make a graveyard of phantoms surrounded in flowers blooming under a dark moonlit sky. That's what I wrote, by the way. That's what I was thinking that I could make for my banner, but that might be too plain, that might be too easy. That would be the obvious choice. So I'm drafting a logo. The word phantom conjures images of ghosts, human-like forms moving through other objects, transparent, translucent, and able to phase through anything. Making a translucent logo might be impossible. I made a note of this. But I think I can figure something out if I really put my mind to it. I recently painted a glowing blue flower. Not super recently. Kind of recently. I painted a flower that I might use as a profile image until I draft something else. I'm going to go work on my logo right now. So, the personality test I am writing is meant to determine an individual's romantic preferences. It won't necessarily determine what their ideal partner is or who their ideal partner is, but by finding out what someone's romantic preferences are, you can kind of make some educated guesses as to who their ideal partner would be. And that's kind of the goal of my personality test. I want to write a test that identifies key attributes about someone's personality. Minute quirks is another term that I'm using for these attributes. And I want to fully encapsulate their romantic preferences into what I'm calling a type. And this is a really common term for someone's ideal partner. Their type. What is your type? Who is my type? Everyone has a ideal romantic type. A type of person, not just one person, that they feel strongly about from a romantic perspective. So, these romantic personality types can be determined by a personality test that is simply a list of questions and images. And this is what I'm planning on using throughout the test, is questions with images to aid in explaining the topic of the question, to help guide the question in some way. I think that it would make the test more interesting to have images. So, each romantic personality type has a name. I've given them all these weird made-up names, sort of similar to other personality tests that identify what your personality is by titling the name of your personality with some term or made-up phrase. And each romantic personality type will also have information regarding the preference and their preferences. So I will collect data with the test about a person and then determine what their personality type is with a name and further information regarding what that means about them. So right now it's kind of just this weird list of random names that don't really tie to anything. Like, they're not connected to any ideas that are clearly stated yet. So this is all just me writing the test and drafting what the personality types are going to be. So I've drafted a list of names that I want to use for the test, and this is sort of how the test will be organized at the end as well. After the user is done taking the test will the the personality types will kind of help organize the results of the personality test. So I'm going to display the names next to me. Displayed next to me are the current romantic types I have titled and expect to use in my personality test. They all seem a little bit strange. They're not words that you've probably seen before because they're made up. And they're not very common words. I mean, some of them do have a similar sound to some common words. I will admit that. But I will go into further detail about the names of the personalities. So I wrote down that I could have used words like hopeless romantic instead of made up words. I could use like hopeless romantic, romantic, masochist, femdom. That's another. This is starting to be kinky, so that's why I'm kind of adverse to using these terms like hopeless romantic. I opted for a new set of terms because it makes the test more interesting. It organizes information that is outside the norm, defines the information in a way that's easy to understand, even though it's not normally considered by the average person all at once. And they could also be representative of the actual personality, like the way the word sounds could be representative of the traits of that personality or what makes it what it is. I'm not sure yet. I haven't gotten that far, but eventually I will have a reason for all of these strange names. A solid reason. So I'm going to read the titles / names. No, I'm not going to read them out loud. I wrote down that I was going to read them. But for now, since this is the first video, I'm just going to let you decide for yourself what these words actually sound like. No, I should say them. Okay, I'm going to get my list so that I can see the names as well, because right now I have the wrong notes in front of me, and then I will read them. I will attempt to read them because even I haven't actually. Oh, my cat is sitting on the keyboard. Oh, God. So the names of the romantic partner types, the personality test types, are as follows. There is Ima, Bellaris, Sidonis, Delaris, Eros, Fendis, Galaxa, Eoes, Jokina, 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 Claris, Lemoise, Mallory, and Nusi. Those are the personality types, and I'm laughing because I can't take myself seriously saying these names out loud. I just want them to be titles that represent personalities with lots of important information that will be relevant and will be interesting for someone who wants to find out what their romantic personality type is. So they might change, they might not, I might leave them, who knows at this point. But for now, this is the list of types that I've come up with. I wrote down that I am definitely still drafting the test, of course. That's where I am, that's what I keep saying. But at this point, I don't know what my romantic type is. So I will figure that out at the end of this video series about my personality test. And after I've written everything and drafted everything that I need to for the personality test. At this point, further research is required. I need to do a lot of research into what these names actually mean, what I want them to mean. And I also wrote that I particularly like the name Sidonis. I think that that type is really, I don't know, it stands out to me. It stands out to me more than the other types. So just as a little fun fact, Sidonis is my current favorite type just based on this list that I've read. Maybe you've read the list and you have a favorite type just based on what they sound like. Who knows? Maybe that means something. I don't know. I will figure that out. So the next topic that I wanted to talk about is the interface of the personality test, which will likely be coded in HTML and CSS. That's the most common method of writing a personality test online. I mean, if you want users to go to your test and take your test, then you have to host it online and program the interface with some type of language that is programmed for the web, and HTML and CSS are a great option for this. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm not going to use one of those like guided and structured creation like applications that they have. I want to make my test from scratch. Want to program it from scratch as a web page. So it will most likely be an entire website devoted to this personality test. That's what the interface will be. And the test will be structured as questions with multiple choice responses. I don't think I'm going to add any fill in the blank options because that would make it super complicated. And I'm just one girl trying to program a personality test, so I'm thinking that it's not going to be overly complicated. It's only going to be multiple choice responses, and I think that will still be fun and interesting for anyone taking the test. I think they will still want to find out what their ideal romantic sexual type is. I think they still will. But yeah, it's not going to be like very customizable. The interface, you won't be able to like customize it to like make your own like profile and stuff like that. I think there will be some kind of like profile. I don't know if that's necessary. I'm still deciding. But basically I want the test to be lists of questions, and the pages will have questions with graphics, images, graphs, or art. I want it to be really interesting. I want you to have fun while you're taking it. I want the questions to relate to graphs and things like that. I just think the outcome will be better if the information is more defined along the way, and images help to define the information. So the user will answer multiple choice questions organized by categories. I needed some way to organize all of these questions that I'm asking, and so I've made categories for questions that I'm writing. I'm going to display the list of categories next to me. This is the list of categories that I am using to define questions and traits. I'm not sure yet if the order matters, but I do want to have some type of reasoning for the order that I'm using for the categories. I don't want it to be completely random and just a list to check off. Like, I want it to flow in a way that makes sense. I want the categories to move from one to the next, and I want it to feel like they're connected. So I'm going to read the categories now. These are the categories. So this is the current list that I've written, but I plan on adding more categories. Category 1 is sex. Category 2 is gender. Category 3 is marriage. Category 4 is children. And then from there, it's conversations, gifts, toys, house, travel, health, and genetics. And that is the most basic list that I have for the categories that are needed for this personality test that I'm writing. So the categories represent the parts of a relationship or a personality. A personality is defined by the categories, by the information within the categories. And the personalities cover all aspects of the categories. So every personality that I listed earlier is covered by every single one of these categories. So a relationship, romantic or platonic, can be categorized as if to say that there are fundamental categories of every relationship. to say that a relationship can be broken into smaller pieces that define more minute aspects of the relationship. All relationships that exist are a result of categories, opinions, and traits. Categories are simply an organizational tool to further define and extract all possible information regarding a user's opinions. So it's my way of organizing the information that I am displaying to the user. The categories will be well defined to the user, and the test will only be completed if questions from every category have been answered. Without a category, the test is not as comprehensive as it could be, and logically is not the same as a test with all of the categories. Every category matters. What else have I written about categories? So, categories determine attributes. Categories determine attributes. The categories reveal different aspects of the sexual type of your ideal partner. Aspects refer to characteristics, details, or views about a relationship, and specifically the categories involved which organize the relationship. Each category could be thought of as a fundamental aspect of sex. Gender, sex, conversations, they're all crucial elements of a relationship between individuals. All of the categories can be defined in some way. So within the categories, there's a lot of information. Within each of these categories, there are numerous questions, and there will be a result at the end of the test based on the questions that were answered in each category. So the categories have a large effect on the outcome of your type. And now I'm going to talk briefly about the questions that I am writing for my personality test. Every question will be separate and distinct from all other questions. I've noticed that sometimes when you take a personality test online, currently the questions begin to sound the same, or they start to be a little bit repetitive in the content of the questions and how they're asked, the format. I want to avoid this by adding enough questions that are distinct, and the focus of the question being asked compared to the previous or next question. So they need to be distinct from a topic standpoint, like the formatting and what's being talked about. And they also need to have a focus that is comparable to the previous or the next question, but not the same. I want the user to enjoy answering the questions, not feel like they are being interrogated. So that would be the worst case scenarios, that they feel like, I don't know, that they're answering questions at a doctor's office before their appointment, or that a police officer is questioning them. I don't want that. So, I haven't drafted the questions yet, but I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm writing them and how they flow together once I put the entire test together. I'm planning on drafting questions throughout my research slash writing until I have accumulated a list of questions that does not exceed 50 or more. I've decided that if it starts to be 50 or more, then I'm going too far and the personality test is no longer fun. I'm planning on writing, this is what I wrote in regards to the questions. I'm planning on writing 50 questions and using 25 in the test at a time, so that if a user wants to retake the test, there is the option of taking a similar but different test with different and sometimes the same questions in slightly differing orders following the structure of the category list. So I wrote this down, but since I'm doing everything with categories, I don't think that's going to work very well. I don't know. If I make it randomized within the categories and then keep the categories organized the same way, like, is that interesting or is that just chaotic? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to order these questions, but first I need to write them. So that is the first order of business. And that's all for my first video about my personality test. The next video will cover the category of gender, which is the first category that I have written down in regards to my test. And I'm going to be defining how gender is an important topic for any romantic relationship and is quite possibly the most fundamental topic. So, until then, thanks for watching.